This is for the 4th and 6th grade Bible Challenge, and our verse 10 is our last verse. 1 second. It is, "For Herod himself sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake." Mark 6:17. This is an event where Herod had heard about the doings of Jesus and the things that was going on, but he did not think it was Jesus or any of the other people that they thought it was. He thought it was John the Baptist come back from the dead doing these things. So we're going to pick up reading in Mark 6:14 and read through to verse 31. "And King Herod heard of him," that's talking about Jesus, "for his name was spread abroad, and he said that John the Baptist was risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works to show forth themselves in him. Others said that it was Elias, and others said that it was a prophet, or as one of the prophets. But Herod heard thereof. He said, It is John whom I beheaded. He is risen from the dead." Okay, so he had heard things of Jesus going on, and he had already previously met John, and we're going to read that he heard some of the things that John had taught. He listened to him gladly, but John had called out Herodias and Herod's sin, and he had put him in prison. And we're going to find out Herodias wanted him dead, but Herod just put him in prison. But through events, he ended up beheading him. So we're going to read the rest of this. Just want to clarify who Herod had him mixed up with. Okay, on verse 17, this is our verse. "For Herod himself had sent forth and laid hold upon John, and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. For John had said unto Herod, It is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife. Therefore Herodias had a quarrel against him, and would have killed him, but she could not. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just man and a holy, and observed him. And when he heard him, he did many things, and heard him gladly. And when the convenient day was come, that Herod on his birthday made a supper to his lords, his captains, and his chief estates of Galilee. And when the daughter of the said Herodias came in and danced and pleased Herod and them that sat with him, the king said unto the damsel, Ask of me whatsoever thou wilt, and I will give thee. And he sware unto her, Whatsoever thou ask of me, I will give it thee unto half of my kingdom. And she went forth and said unto her mother, What shall I ask? And she said, The head of John the Baptist. And she came in straightway with haste unto the king, and asked, saying, I will that thou give me by and by in a charger the head of John the Baptist. And the king was exceeding sorry. Yet for his oath's sake, and for their sakes which sat with him, he would not reject her. And immediately the king sent an executioner, and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in prison, and brought his head in a charger, and gave it to the damsel, and the damsel gave it to her mother. And when the disciples heard of it, they came and took up the corpse, and laid it in a tomb. And the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus, and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said unto them, Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place, and rest a while. For there were many comings and goings, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. Okay, so our verse, we're going to work on our memory practice. Mark 6:17. "For Herod himself sent forth and laid hold upon John, and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake." Mark 6:17. We're going to take out Mark. That's the book it's in. Then we're going to take out Herod, John, Herodias. We're going to read it again. Mark 6:17. "For Herod himself sent forth and laid hold upon John, and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake." Mark 6:17. Let's take out 6. Take out all the references to him. Okay. Let's take out, let's just do it one more time. Mark 6:17. For Herod himself sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake. Mark 6:17. Let's take out the 17. Should have brought me a paper towel. And then we're going to take out sent forth, laid hold, bound, sake. Mark 6:17. For Herod himself sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake. Mark 6:17. Let's take out prison. We're up on. Okay. Mark 6:17. For Herod himself sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake. Mark 6:17. All right, it's all gone. Mark 6:17. For Herod himself sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake. Mark 6:17. Okay, so this is probably the 20th or 30th video that we've done. Hopefully this one will upload and there won't be any errors. But please take time to study the verse and memorize it and keep working on all the other verses that we've done. And our next video sessions will be a video of me, just like we would be doing a practice in our room, and I will do my part of the practice and you will do your part. And you can pause as you need to complete the process. But me and Brother Tim are going to work on that Wednesday, or at least by next Sunday. Love you guys.